Hello, everyone. On the 18th of August, the Kenyan aviation workers have said that they will have demonstration. Actually, it is on the 19th of August. They said they will have a demonstration to demonstrate against the Kenyan president's sale of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, the airport, of course, which was named after the first president of Kenya, who is Jomo Kenyatta, President Jomo Kenyatta. Now, we have spoken extensively about the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and its sale. We did an analysis here recently, and we pointed out that President William Ruto is in the business of what he calls, of course, leasing, but we have noticed that, of course, leasing is another name of selling for a given period of time. For those of you who are renting, you know very well that if you rent a house, of course, that house belongs to you for that specific time. So, with this conclusion, we are saying that the leasing is not different from selling for that particular period. It's like selling the property for that particular period because you will not have control over it once you hand it over. And what we see is that, of course, Adani from India, who is an Indian person, Indian man, Indian businessman, said that he wants to lease or buy the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport for a period of 30 years, and he's going to invest around 100. He's going to invest around 1.8 billion dollars. 1.8 billion dollars. But we saw that this is the kind of money which even the Kenyan government can afford. This is money which the Kenyan government can afford if it reduced on its excessive expenditure, especially when it comes to the executive, the presidency itself, the executive and the civil service, because the Kenyan government is spending close to $8 billion, $8 billion every year. So this is money which can be cut down to afford, for the government to be able to afford at least $2 billion to invest into Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and widen it because they say he was going to put up a second runway to the airport, and expand its capacity, its holding capacity, because right now the airport is functioning beyond its capacity. So we think that as Africans, we really need to revise how we approach to the issue of economics. But before that, of course, let me put up the article so that we can see what the Kenyans are saying who are working in the aviation sector. So on the 19th of August, they are saying that they are calling for a demonstration. And of course, this is, we think that this is within acceptable, means. This is what the people should be doing, even for other places where we have spoken about where assets are being sold. When it comes to Tanzania, where a port has been leased off again to the same Adani, and then even in Uganda. So for us, as Pan-Africanists, this is not about countries. This is not about countries like Uganda, which is, of course, Uganda is also selling, is letting Total take a stake into the Bujagali hydropower dam, which produces about 250 megawatts. So for us as Africans, this is not about countries. Of course, we have experienced some attacks, even in the comment section when we have commented about the fact that President Ruto, for example, is selling the airport for a particular period of time, and of course we have said you can call it whatever you want. You can call it leasing, you can call it selling for a particular period of time. Is leasing it for a particular period of time is the same thing as selling it for a particular period of time, because at the end of the day, the country is not going to get the benefits from this particular airport. It is these Indians, these foreigners who are going to get, the benefits from this airport. So the Kenyan Aviation Workers Union said on Monday, which was last Monday, that the employees of the Kenya Airways and Kenya Airports Authority would go on strike from August 19th over the investment proposal from an Indian company, Adani Airport Holdings. So this is what the Kenyans are saying themselves, the workers, the people who are working in the Kenyan, aviation industry. They are saying that they are going on strike over this so-called investment proposal from the from the Indian company Adani Airport Holdings at the country's main airport, of course, which is Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. The strike would likely cause significant disruption to Kenya's national carrier, Kenya Airways, and to operations of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi, a key African travel hub. A key African travel hub. I want you to underline that word. This is very important. This is extremely important. This is extremely important. This is very important. Now, to President Ruto himself, even he has said that this airport is a strategic asset. Now, for us, what we asked as a question, if this is your strategic asset, this is a strategic asset, won't you do so much to protect this particular asset? Won't you go to all lengths for an asset which is not even making losses? The asset is not making loss that you want to sell it because the asset is making loss. It is making profit. The Kenya, the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport is making a lot of profit, and it is a key African travel hub. Why? Because it is the leading airport in the East African region. All right. So for us, we think that the Kenyan people and the workers within the Kenyan aviation sector, they have a right to protest against it. And not only this, but also the workers, who are working, in various assets across the African continent, where these assets, they are attempting to privatize them or to hand them over to private entities, and more so assets which, are already profitable. We shall consider our intention to engage in industrial action only if the Adani Airport Holdings Limited deal is abandoned in its entirety, said Mos Ndiema, head of the Kenya Aviation Workers Union. You see, so this is what they are saying. Last month, Kenya's airports authority say the investment proposal from the Adani Airport Holdings included a second runway at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. So we ask a question once again: can't we, as Africans, take care of our own assets? Because look, what we want to remove from the African, and of course, to deconstruct this narrative that is being pushed by the neoliberal, of course, by neoliberal, we mean Eurocentric outlook, that the African can only, be there and exist within these systems without him participating and being a victim of his own assets, being a victim of the system. So this is the system that we want to deconstruct. This is the narrative, of course, as Africans, that we are interested in deconstructing. We believe that Africans should be able to manage our own affair. We believe that Africans too should be able, to manage our own assets and infrastructure. We don't need to invite other people because we have the ability. We strongly have the ability. Because if you look at what is happening across the African continent, the white man has come here and planted his narrative that the only way which these assets can be managed is through privatization. Privatization everywhere, privatization. They don't go and say this to China, all right? They don't go and say this to Saudi Arabia. They do not go and say this to Russia, but they come to Africa and peddle these lies about privatization, which is called the so-called liberalization. So this false narrative, we have as Pan-Africanists a responsibility of deconstructing it. Why? Because it robs the Africans of our dignity. All right, as a people, it robs the Africans of our dignity, and we need to take back that dignity. So we strongly support the Kenyan aviation sector workers who have come out to demonstrate against this Ruto-led, selling of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, which is an important airport all over the African continent, and one of the most important, actually the most important airport in the East African region. So this is very important. But what do you think? What do you think, you are watching out there? What do you think about the Kenyan aviation sector workers who are coming out to demonstrate? Do you support them? Do you support the Kenyan aviation sector workers who have come out to say that they will demonstrate against Ruto's attempt to sell, the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to an Indian. And of course, we have said even in the past that India as an economy is the same size as the African economy, all right? In being in the size of an economy and even in population, but more so, we have much more resources and even land. Our land, which we have on the African continent, is 12 times that of India. So, which means we have so much resources, 10 times more resources than India, all right? We have more resources than India. So, why would Ruto or anyone else go to India where, the people we are richer than and invite them to come and own our assets? Can't we look around the African continent? Why not go and call Dangote to come and invest in these, in these resources, in these assets, in this infrastructure? Why not? Why invite Indians? So these are the questions I think that we need to ask ourselves as Africans. And of course, when we ask these questions, we will be able, to get the answers. But we have to be realistic, and we have to to be consistent, of course, with what we stand for as Africans. We cannot always pander to the aspirations of the white man and his systems and impose them on our people, and at the same time say that we are African. We have to move in a different direction as Africans, and we have to insist as Africans that we can manage our affairs. And if we can manage our affairs, that means our infrastructure, we have to manage it by ourselves. We have to manage our infrastructure by ourselves by removing, of course, the corruption, by removing, of course, the inefficiencies in these systems that we are running. We pointed out to you that what Adani is suggesting to invest in the, in the Kenyan, airport, which is the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, is just $1.8 billion. $1.8 billion. But we have shown you that the Kenyan civil service alone, including the president and his ministers, they are spending up to $8 billion, $8 billion every year. So if you cut on this expenditure, and even you take the profits which this airport is making, you should be able to invest over a period of years, over a period of maybe 5 years, even over 3 years. You should be able to take, or you should be able to raise the $1.8 billion to expand the airport by yourself without even inviting foreigners, using our own resources, using our own materials even within the region, and employing our own people and our engineers. These are the things which we have been talking about in the past. And of course, many other people have been talking about these things, that we have African engineers, but they cannot even build our roads and they cannot build our airports. So how else do you expect the African engineers to build our airports and roads if you are selling off the airport so that another person can build it, so that we don't build it by ourselves? Because if we don't put up money, then we cannot have an opportunity to employ, our engineers on this infrastructure. So whenever we sacrifice and we insist that we must do it by ourselves, we must manage it ourselves, we must build it ourselves, this brings benefits, and these benefits have a multiplier effect to go even into different sectors. But what do you think about this particular suggestion? Because Africa is the only place where we are seeing that our railways, our roads, and other systems are being built by foreigners. Because once you allow your systems to be built by foreigners, once you allow your infrastructure to be built by foreigners, then you are giving out all these jobs to these foreigners. And of course, which is very unfortunate. And most importantly, you are robbing your people of dignity, the pride of the fact that we built this country, we built this civilization, we built this continent. This is very important, extremely important. Therefore, we think that the Kenyan people are right to demand that the airport should not be leased to Adani, Adani, an Indian man who's coming all the way from Asia. But what do you think? What do you think? This is Kwame Gonza. Of course, the channel is called Connect Africa. Please support the channel, like the video, and share it with other people. I want to thank you once again for being part of this program. Don't forget to like the video and share it with others. Thank you so much, and God bless you.